A young man, quietly sitting in his room, hears the doorbell signal. He takes off his headphones. The ring resounds intensely, making him realize it must have been some time before he heard it. He doesn't expect anyone at this hour. His heart rate quickens. Can it be the police searching for him? He cautiously approaches the front door when they start banging at the door with their fists. He freezes. His hesitation to open the door now solidifies into a decision to feign absence. He hears their voices. It is the police, already interrogating his neighbors about him, trying to figure out where he is. A man doesn't know why the police is searching for him, but he sure knows they can have their reasons. In his country, several articles allow them to bring very serious charges against him that can lead even to a prison sentence. In his country, they don't even need any evidence. A wish to jail a person is enough. His country is also at war with a neighboring country, so if not to accuse him of something, they could have come to his house just to conscript him into the war. He listens to what is happening behind the door. Two policemen are querying his neighbors if he's at home, when they last saw him, if he's causing any disturbance in the area. He listens to what is happening behind the door. Two policemen are querying his neighbors if he is at home, when they last saw him, and if he is causing any disturbance in the area. They bang on his door again, but he barely breathes at all to make it look like he's not there. Finally, they leave, but he knows they will return. So he rushes to collect his things and to leave his home. Probably forever. What I've just described is not something that happened in a novel we're going to talk about, which is Prophet's Song by Paul Lynch, and I even have it here on the shelf. Let me show it to you. This is the one. One of the themes of this novel is living under a dictatorship regime and suffering from persecution. This story did not happen in this book. It happened to me. And this is why I can judge this novel a bit more harshly than most of its reviewers. One of the epigraphs to the novel is taken from Ecclesiastes, and I really like it. It reads, "The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun." Now, in order to keep this review structured and useful for you, I'll break it down into three parts. The context, the positives, why someone would enjoy reading it, and the negatives, why I personally think that the novel could be much better. I'll tell you right away. If you're curious about the novel, based on what you've heard about it, go on and read it. Even if in the end you are dissatisfied with it, it's not a big deal. It's normal, we all have our tastes. But the chances are you like it. If you've never heard of the novel, or vice versa, if you read it, liked it, disliked it, and are curious to learn more about others' opinion, well, let's get into discussing it. But just in case, I'll stay away from the major spoilers. The author of Prophet's Song, Paul Lynch, started to work on it 4 years ago in 2018, which is one of the reasons why some Western literary critics claim him to be a prophet himself. A grave exaggeration if you ask me. His debut novel, Red Sky in Morning, received significant acclaim, and with each subsequent novel, Lynch was becoming more and more well known. People used to compare him to Cormac McCarthy, and we will return to this comparison later when we talk about my negative impressions of the book, and also they compare him to, for example, Samuel Beckett and William Faulkner. Prophet's Song was published in 2023 and eventually received the Booker Prize, probably the most prestigious British prize for contemporary fiction. The theme of the novel itself is worth reflecting upon. In the center of a plot, we see a big family caught up in the situation when the government of their country slowly turns into a dictatorship, which inevitably affects the main characters, who are first trying to keep up with their normal lives, and then, when it's too late and there is too little hope left, just trying to survive. The mere fact that there is a well-known novel telling such a story is a good thing. Lynch is definitely a very good and skilled author. There are things he was able to portray quite masterfully. Among those is how people tend to be reluctant to believe that things are getting worse. The main character, a mother of 4, believes that everything is going to be fine until the very end of the book, which of course leads to some sad consequences. And here probably is the main question that the author poses: how to assess the situation correctly and how to make a good decision based on your assessment. Should you be optimistic or should you expect the worst? If you ask me, everything's simple. There is so-called Murphy's Law, which states that if things can go wrong, they will definitely go wrong. From my point of view, this should be enough to illustrate the point. But I can understand why someone, like Paul Lynch, decided to write the whole novel to illustrate the point. And, well, in general, he did it well. But since we are at a topic of depicting reality that is getting worse, I think Lynch could have done a better job. Or maybe not Lynch, maybe someone else. Lynch's strength is in illustrating how people make bad decisions under changing circumstances, under stress, and with the limited information available. But the way he describes what is happening under a totalitarian regime, and especially when there is a war zone nearby, tells me he knows about it only in theory. The following are words from a review published in Irish Examiner. I don't know when I last read a book that left me as shaken and disturbed as Paul Lynch's 5th novel. Totally realistic. And this is a problem. It is not realistic. It may seem realistic only to those who didn't see similar events themselves. And here's the thing. There is a lot of people, unfortunately, who witnessed similar events firsthand. And this happened, and is still happening, not too far from Western Europe, by the way. People now are constantly talking about the problems with diversity in literature, and real lack of diversity is clearly happening here. The author, who has no idea what living under totalitarian regime is, and living in or near the war zone looks like, in real life, writes for those who equally haven't seen it or haven't felt it either. And for those people, it is still disturbing. But it is not honest enough. Those of us who witnessed similar events would say that Paul Lynch's version is very toned down comparing to what reality looks like. And I don't blame the writer for it. Paul Lynch spent most of his life in a big city. He used to be a journalist before he became a writer, and it clearly is clever, but he just has only theoretical knowledge of what he's writing about, and this is rather obvious. Taken from another review, this time published in NY Times. Lynch stays deliberately vague, partly so that the story can serve as a more general allegory. The author uses allegories when he has no idea what it looks like in reality, and I would prefer to see a little bit more realistic description of the events. Another review tells us, although it is not a perfect novel by any means, Prophet Song is gripping, poignant and powerful. It is also, unfortunately, very prescient. No, it is outdated. It seems prescient only to those who lived in the comfort of their own homes and lavishly ignored what was happening in the world around them. But let's go further. One more thing, and I won't pretend that this one is objective. It's purely about my own tastes in literature. I feel there are topics that require intense but very clear, sometimes even dry, brief and very precise language. Think Hemingway writing about war. And Lynch, on the other hand, prefers to use poetic language, which would, from time to time, impress other writers or his classmates from ex-classmates from English and philosophy program at the University of Dublin, which he used to attend. But from my point of view, it weakens the text and its capability to depict reality. Instead of showing us how bad things are, he exercises his wordplay, which is not appropriate in this case and just spoils the impression. Poetic language sometimes is good, but I believe that here the language should have been honest and more precise. A couple of words about stylistics. Distinctively Irish style in imitating early McCarthy, no paragraphs, minimal usage of punctuation marks. Again, yet another review quoting, but it also suggests that there is no real difference on the page between a thing said and a thing thought. You can feel the paranoia creeping in. Thinking is as bad as saying is as futile as thinking. There are no paragraphs because there is no relief from anxiety, only an unending sentence that refuses to reach a full stop. That is very well said, but I'm still not convinced. Look, you can say that this creates claustrophobic atmosphere, dark, gripping, nightmarish, all of those words. The effect is only that it makes the text harder to read. That is why it is gloomy. When McCarthy did it, it was okay. It was his style. When every other Irish author repeats after McCarthy, it gets boring. In conclusion, I definitely agree with what was written in Kenyon Collagen review of the book. Prophet Song is less interested in could it happen here than in the follow-up would you know when to leave? And this is the most intriguing question the book asks. Paul Lynch is definitely very skilled when he writes about ideas and dilemmas. He's also very good at writing about people and their feelings. However, I don't fancy the author's approach to the language and stylistics, and I think that some first-hand experience would help him to write about the main themes of the book much better. Although, of course, I don't suggest him to go and live or spend some time in Russia, not even for purely scientific purposes. Read good literature. Till next time.